Well, we got a new project coming into the old school garage today.
Peace.
I'm here with Brian from Armor Fence.
Peace.
Brian, tell me about this motorcycle.
Well, this is my older brother's bike. I remember staring at this bike when I was a little kid in our backyard, and I was about this big, and that bike was about this big to me.
So did he
Been around forever.
Did he buy this bike brand new, you think?
No, he didn't buy it brand new. He's had it forever, though. He's passed away now. So
have you ever rode this
I
bike?
never rode it. It was always too big for me.
So you said something about going to California and seeing it in the backyard?
My nephew, his son, had it in his backyard, just sitting in the elements, rotting away, and I told him, I'm bringing it home, and it's been covered in my yard until I can bring it to Merlin.
Well, I'm super excited to work on it. It's pretty cool, all original, unmolested old Husky. So
Yeah.
we're going to tear into this thing and get it running and clean it up. We'll probably put some new tires on it. I mean, the seat actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, that blows me away. The
Paint up the tank, and we'll take you guys along for this little Husky ride. Ooh, that kicked like a mule. Kicks like a mule. Yep, another beautiful day in Havasu. McKay's still here, warm and fuzzy and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. And we're gonna put some tires on this here motor scooter. Get this tank off and clean it out. I think we're gonna paint this tank. We're just gonna kind of do a preservation. So we're gonna straighten up these levers, put some grips on, oil the cables up. We're not gonna go over the top on this thing, but we are gonna make it run. And try to figure out what it is. I haven't even figured out what it is. I think it's a 360. Is that what we came up with? 360?
Well, I mean, from pictures,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to tell.
McKay and I researched it, and we both kind of did it on our own. We came back and said, yeah, it's either a 250 or 360, but we know the cylinder is bigger than 250. So, I don't know. If you guys know what it is, let us know. I'm not sure. I don't see a CC marking on the cylinder head, but as near as I can tell, it's around a 1974 360 Husky. Anyway, we got new fenders for it, and we'll clean the seat up. It actually looks pretty nice. I just finished steam cleaning it and filling it completely full of water. We'll get the carburetor cleaned and see if we can fire it up today. Catch McKay smashing his fingers in this tire. It's McKay's turn to smash fingers in this tire. What's on that camera lens there?
Burnt rubber.
That's probably what it is. Smoke. It looked like smoke. What we got here is the burbulizer pinstriping tool. We're going to attempt to pinstripe right here. Well, it looks like you got to keep the wheel fairly level, but where's the hard part? You got to keep the wheel. You got to keep this thing up too, where it's loaded. Look at that! Would you look at that? There's a pinstripe on there. I don't know who did this one. I didn't do that. But anyway, the burbulizer. Well, so I got the tank painted. Now I've got to put this white pinstripe around this thing. I've never used one of these tools, but we're about to give her hell here. So this thing, I forget what they call this, a burbulizer or something like that. And I think you just kind of run the wheel around here. Like so. Looks like a white pinstripe to me. I don't know if it was ever perfect when it was new. But it'll be striped when I'm done. That's all I got to say about that. Definitely doesn't want to get no traction on that metal though. Seems to be working on the painted part. Works pretty good. Yeah, that don't look too bad. Now I got to do the other side without messing that side up. So we'll start over here. We'll run on around real slow. This was the widest wheel in the kit. This burbulizer is a kit, obviously. Comes with 3 different widths of wheel. A little bit of a boo-boo there, but it'll be all right. Looks pretty good. Well, it's another beautiful day in Havasu. Check out this old truck behind me. This thing is so cool. I'm here with my buddy Steve Huff. I've been doing dumb stuff like, look at this, big rocks, long props. This is Steve, like I'm telling you. I've been hanging out with him for way too long, but anyway, he's got one heck of a story on purchasing a motorcycle as a young man, and I just crack up every time he's ever told it to me, but I want to share that story with the world right now. So Steve, why don't you tell us where you were in like 1970? Well, where are you from? You grew up
Southern Arizona,
Wilcox, Arizona, right?
between Wilcox and Douglas, a little town called Sunnazona.
Okay. And you were working for Bell Helicopter?
I got a job for Bell Helicopter through a friend that had worked for my dad on a farm and a ranch. And he was out of the military, worked on Hueys, and he went over to Bell. And I started applying for Bell when I was 17 before I was an aircraft mechanic. And then I got my A&P license, and he got to know somebody over there really high up in Bell, and they called me one day at the house. We came in from the ranch, and the phone rang, and it was a guy from Bell Helicopter. I still remember his name, Dave Stockton.
Dave Stockton from
Dave
Bell
Stockton
Helicopter.
from Bell
So
Helicopter.
when you went to work for Bell Helicopter, did you immediately head overseas, or were you working stateside?
No, immediately they called me up and they said, we're on offer you the job. I said, I'll take it. And he said, well, don't you want to know what it is? And I said, no, I don't. Been applying for a long time and I'm ready to go. So they sent me, I think it was $2,500 relocation money, and they gave me 3 weeks to be in Texas. And I had to take a bunch of shots and immunizations, yellow fever, bubonic plague, all kinds of things to go over to go to Iran. And then I showed up there. They did a briefing for a day and got on an airplane.
And what year was that?
It's 1977.
1977. You're 20 years old.
20 years old.
And you just got shot up with all these immunizations to head
Sick
to
as a dog. One day.
another country.
Yeah.
A country cowboy kid, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you grew up on the farm out there.
Grew up on the farm and the ranch.
But you did have a pilot's license at that time, correct?
I did.
Because you'd been
I did.
flying airplanes and...
Yep. I was
Yeah.
flying airplanes. I had at that time I had my commercial single engine land.
Okay, but you were not a helicopter pilot at that
No,
time.
I was not a helicopter
You got your
pilot.
helicopter rating later.
After, yes.
So, what was it like in Iran?
You know, it was a lot like Agua Prieta, Mexico. It reminded me of that. It was dirty. The streets, the people, everybody was friendly then. You know that we didn't have any problems, especially in the little town I was in. It was a
What was the name of the town you were in?
Kermanshah.
Kermanshah, Iran.
Yeah, and it was 400,000 people, but they considered it a village because there was 7 million or 8 million at that time in Tehran. So, and there was only 100 Americans where I went in Kermanshah. But it was, I liked it. I mean, it was no anti-American sentiment at that time. It was pretty free. Girls walked around in jeans and regular clothes, and you know, there was places to go dance, and there was music, and they made their own beer, and there was other beer, you know, on the liquor stores, and
Okay.
so it was pretty good until about October of '78.
Yeah. So, before October of '78, you and your buddies from Bell Helicopter, what would you do in your time off?
Drive around, explore.
So just see the countryside?
Yeah, a local ride around. There was a lot of
Yeah.
history in that area. We actually could drive to the border of Iraq, and there was a restaurant there you could go eat at.
Just across the border?
No, it wasn't in Iraq.
So it was in Iraq.
We accidentally went into Iraq one day, went too far, but there was no tensions really then. They just turned us around and we came back across.
Sent you back?
Sent us back, and there was some funny places over there. They ate a lot of lamb, a lot of mutton, and you just see these road sign stands set up, and they'd be cooking it, and they'd have skewers of tomatoes and onions and stuff on a stick, and then one place made pinto beans. We called it the bean house. But it had a
Love it.
big plate of pinto beans and some mutton, and
It sounds like Mexico with street tacos.
it reminded me a lot. They hung all the stuff in the windshields of the cars, you know, and the road graders and all the decals, and it was pretty fun.
That's awesome. So how did this Yamaha transpire? Like, how did you What possessed you to try to buy a motorcycle over there?
Well, I found out actually a guy named Rick King had a YZ, and I started asking him about it, and he said, "Oh yeah, several guys." And I'm there less than a month, and he said several guys have motorcycles, but you have to go to Tehran and buy them. So that involved a 2-hour plane ride in a 737, and then you stay that night in a hotel, and then the next morning you go to the motorcycle shop and you start looking for shops that had them, because there was no phones or no anything.
Right.
You just had to walk around till you found a YZ. And first place I walked into, it was snow.
So you're 20 years old.
20 years old.
You took an airplane ride into Tehran from Kermanshah, and how did you decipher the language? You couldn't read any of the signs.
No, you
right?
can't. Some of it's in English. Surprisingly, several of the signs were in English, but I had a map. I had a hand-drawn map from some guys there at Bell of where these motorcycle shops were.
In Tehran.
In Tehran.
That's so funny.
And it's December, it's snowing, it's cold. I got cowboy boots on and not near enough clothes. So I walk, and I don't know how to get a taxi or how to tell them even where I want to go.
Right.
So I start walking, and I walk to this motorcycle shop, probably a couple miles. And I walk in, and it's just a dirty, dingy little store, and there's some motorcycles around that you have never seen before, anything like it.
Right.
And I said, YZ, and he said, YZ, and like hold up his hand, like, wait 1 minute. And he gets a couple other guys, and they open this door in the floor, and they go down these stairs, and they're waving me down there, and I come down these stairs.
White boy from Wilcox, Arizona, in cowboy boots,
following them down this stairwell, and got money on me, too much money. And so we get down to the bottom of the stairs, and it's out of a movie. There's one light bulb hanging down. They turn on
with a string.
And so they go over, and there's a crate in the side, and I'm like, YZ. I'm looking in this crate. It don't look like no YZ to me. I've seen, and then finally I saw a monoshock on it, and so I said, YZ, and they're pushing me out of the way, and they drag this crate up these stairs and get it up in the floor, and I'm looking at it, and it's white with this red stripe, says Yamaha on it.
So back then, the rest of the world, the YZs were yellow, right? Pretty much.
They had some white with red on them, but this was the international. This white with red
international version.
Is the international version of the gas tank.
And we will show you guys pictures of it, because Steve has pictures of this thing.
Yes.
All right, and this is the bike over here behind us. I shot a little bit of B-roll on it. He is in the process of rebuilding the bike, but how that bike got here is an amazing story.
So I YZ, they pull out a paper, a title of sorts, and in English it's Japanese, but in English it says YZ250C. Good enough for me. So paid $2,200 for this bike in 1978, which was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And not thinking about what I'm going to do with it, they put it together. They put the tires and wheels on it and everything, and YZ, there you go. So I've no gas.
Now
no
it's
oil.
wintertime. It's
winter
snowing.
time.
You're in cowboy boots, and you got a YZ motorcycle.
I do. In Tehran.
In Tehran.
Well, I've got a map to go to this place called Ace Trucking, and it had a symbol just like off of an Ace cards.
Okay.
And I had this map of where it was, and they're the ones that shipped everything to Kermanshah to Bell Helicopter.
Okay.
I walked this thing about 3 miles in the snow. Cars
Pushing
it.
Because you didn't put fuel in it.
No, there was no fuel or oil. They didn't have any petrol or oil.
Yeah.
And so I pushed this thing about 3 miles through the snow. My feet are just frozen. It's snowing on me. Down the streets, I get it, and there's this building. It says Ace Trucking. I go inside. This guy comes up, and he just starts to take the motorcycle from me. I'm like, Kermanshah. He goes, Kermanshah. Like, yeah, I know. Kermanshah, okay, Kermanshah. And I'm so cold, I'm so tired, I let him take the back, and I follow him to a little chain link cage. And it has this Iranian writing on the front. And it may have said Kermanshah on it, I don't remember. And
but
so
most of the writing signs were Iranian.
Yeah, and you could tell it was things going different places
right.
by these cages. And so he takes a bike, puts it in, and he walks off, and I'm standing around waiting for some sort of receipt or something, and he just leaves. And I stand there 10-15 minutes. Finally I start following him, and he comes up like, what am I still doing there, with a look on his face. And I said, Kermanshah. He goes, Kermanshah. I was so cold, I was so hungry, I was so tired. I was making enough money that I just went, I don't care. If it don't show up,
If I see the bike, I see the
if
bike.
it just don't show up. And so I left, went back to the hotel, long walk, and then you have to wait to stay there again another night and another day and go back in the evening on the airline. So probably 3 weeks, maybe even 4 weeks. I'd already given up, forgotten about the motorcycle. It's not coming. I was already looking around for something else. And I come out of the little employee restaurant that they had there at the headquarters, where you went in every day to eat lunch from the base. And there's a truck, has this Ace on the side, Ace Trucking. I walk over, there's my motorcycle laying against the wall.
Wow.
I pointed at it to the YZ, and he just pushes it out and gives it to me. No paperwork.
That's pretty awesome.
And Bell paid, that was Bell Helicopter paid for all of that.
All that
transport.
shipping
Yep.
for the Ace to
Yes.
move things in and out of the
Yep.
base for you guys.
Yeah, they paid for all of it. And I walked it over to my house, about a half mile. I walked it over to the house. And
So I seen some of the pictures, and I remember you telling me years ago about you guys riding around, and
we rode everywhere.
that there was a
We rode to work.
There was a river there
Yep.
that you guys
We
lost
rode
a
down the
motorcycle in one time.
I have pictured all that, yeah.
Yeah. So then, what month was it? 1978, when all hell broke loose.
I think it was October when Khomeini came back in and the Shah left. Shah went to Cairo, I think, and Khomeini came back in, and they burnt all the liquor stores, and all the girls had to start wearing the traditional dress again, and they parked a bunch of military vehicles in front of a movie theater in Gom, I think it was called, and they burnt 400 people to death in this movie theater because that wasn't, what they did, and they drug all the statues down of the Shah, and yeah. Then I came home in December on leave for a month, and I went to go back, and I got a hold of Bell, and they said, or I got a hold of the airline to get my ticket, and they said, you have to go to the State Department office. And so I went to the State Department in Tucson, which was a 2-hour drive from where I lived, and they said, we're recommending no Americans go back to Iran. And I'm 21. I'm
Bulletproof. You know everything at
bulletproof.
21.
I have stuff over there. I have a motorcycle. I have a Baja Bug over there that I built.
Yeah.
I have, all my tools, everything. And I said, well, are you telling me I can't go? No, but we're recommending you don't go. Give me my ticket. So they gave me the ticket, and that was a whole journey itself. Left New York and went to, I'll think of the little country we went to. And then I couldn't get an airline flight into Tehran because all the airlines quit flying there. Except for I had a ticket on Lufthansa, and they quit flying. And Air France, I believe it was Air France, the lady finally just took pity on me sitting in the airport for 2 days and said, you know what, we got empty seats, it's going to Tehran, just get on the airplane and go. We don't care.
Here you are flying into a war
I'm
zone.
flying in a war zone, and I was the only American on the airplane. And the little lady comes up, and she looked at me, and she said, are you English? I said, well, I'm American. She goes, would you like to come back in the back with us? I said, I'd love to. And went back in the back, and nobody was eating anything on the airplane because they thought it was pork. Nobody was touching a thing, any of the food. And the food comes up out of the floor.
Okay.
And I just kept eating desserts and eating anything you want because it all gets thrown away at the other end.
Right.
That's what she said. So we went into Tehran and circled around. We had to unload our own bags off the airplane. They brought out a stairway thing and unload our own bags, and then a bus ride, 15-hour bus ride to Kermanshah, stopping at little truck spots, getting bologna, and they had bologna they throw on a grill, then you get the tomatoes and stuff with it, and then they just scoop that off on the floor. Anything left when they cleaned it is just off on the floor, and you just walk through trash on the floor in these little truck stops.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Kermanshah didn't recognize anybody as a country. It's a lot of Kurdish people.
Okay.
And we didn't have any issues. Once I
So
got
even
back,
once you got back,
yeah,
and how long were you back for?
I went back in December, and we got out in April. And they just one day showed up at the house and said, "You're all under house arrest. You got 10 minutes to pack your stuff, and we're taking you to the base." And so I said, all right, and I packed a bunch of stuff, and I said, I got something in the backyard, hold on. I went out and got my motorcycle and rode to the base.
Okay.
And nobody said anything. I come on the base, and the guards all recognized me because I rode
Yeah,
to
so
work
they
a
just
lot.
waved you in.
Waved me in. I went to found the base housing. There was only 6 or 7 of them, and a lot of Americans lived in the base housing, or you could live on the economy. And so I went to this base housing and stayed there for over 2 months, 2.5 months. And they'd come get us once in a while to
on
work
base.
on base, and you couldn't leave the housing, you couldn't leave base housing, but they'd come get you to go work on a helicopter once in a while.
Okay.
And one day we were up on the top of the building, and all these Cobras start leaving, and they're all armed with tow missiles, and they start flying to the east. And it was odd to see that many leaving. And then there's a bunch of dust way off in the distance, big bunch of dust. And so these helicopters went around, and pretty soon the dust is getting closer, and some guy had binoculars. It's tanks, and they're headed our way, and the Cobras are down on the ground flying and circling them, and pretty soon guys just crawl out of these tanks and walk off. And the Cobras come back. Well, we found out that a bunch of civilians had stolen these tanks, had went to the base and just took them.
Oh, so.
And they were coming to get us because they heard a bunch of Americans. That was an anti-American
Right.
sentiment started. And the Cobras, who were all our friends, I mean, we knew them, had known them for years there. They took the Cobras out, and they were going to, but it turns out the tanks had no ammo in them.
Yeah.
They were just empty. And so it wasn't too long after that, we started making a plan. If things got bad, we were going to fly to Turkey. That was the closest military base. And at that time, I did have my commercial license, because when I was home on that month, I went to San Diego and got my helicopter license.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of time from that previous year.
Okay.
A lot of the Americans were flight instructors. They were
Right.
doing the test flights.
Yeah,
So
every time you'd get in a helicopter
I
to go
had-
do tracking
I-
or anything, you were
teaching me how to fly.
exactly.
So then there were several of us that could fly, and we made a plan of what helicopters were flyable and which ones weren't, and which, if it come down to it, we were
Yeah.
going to steal them and leave. And
Yeah.
then they put us on some buses to get us to Tehran to leave the country, and they stopped us in this holy city of Qom, where they burnt all those people to death, and they held us captive for about 12 hours, yelling, screaming at us, pointing guns at us, and they stopped us. They ran our buses off the road, hit the bus driver in the head, and he was Iranian. They hit him in the head with a gun butt.
But because he was
Transporting us.
you guys, he
Yeah.
was working for the enemy
Yep.
per se.
And so they sent us back to Kermanshah on those buses. Turns out they probably did us a favor, because there's one guy that's kind of head of different areas.
Okay.
And it turns out maybe it would have been worse for us to go on. So they sent us back. And then at nighttime, though, they sent us out. Well, everybody knew you didn't go out at night.
Yeah.
You just didn't go out at night, because they stopped cars and beat people up and burnt cars. But daytime, all the burnt cars, they just push them aside and just go to work.
Just keep on moving.
Like nothing happened. And then nighttime, it all started again.
That's
and so they
amazing.
sent us out the next time on big Greyhound style buses, and we got to Tehran, and they had a big machine gun in the hallway of the hotel, supposed to be protecting us, and we stayed there 2 days. Our hotel room got shot up. They had already shot the hotel up, but our hotel room got shot up. We were in the bathroom, in the bathtub, me and this pilot friend of mine, and then we went to went to the airport, and we were on the last airplane out. We flew to Frankfurt, Germany.
So, how did the motorcycle end up back in the States?
So I'm on one of these trips when they come to get us to go work on helicopters. They just come get 4 or 5 of us and go work on a helicopter, and they take us back. On one of those trips, one of the guys said, "Hey, if you get all your tools together and put them in a box, put the address on it, and you write this code on it, we're going to try to get them out of here." Well, so I took my motorcycle. I found a big crate. I took my motorcycle that would fit. So I took the forks off. I took the motor out, but I had to cut the last part of the fender.
So that's why
that's cut.
frame loop. You have that loop though,
I
right?
have that loop. It's been welded on twice because it's a little too rough.
I love it.
And so that's why I had to cut that. So I put it in the crate, and then I just took my toolbox. I dumped every drawer in the crate around it, and I took the forks I put in a trunk, and the engine I put in a trunk, and I took that with me on the airplane, and I sent the tires and the wheels and the gas tank and all the plastic and stuff in the crate.
In the box.
I thought I'd at least get some of it back, and so I put it all in there and marked tools, and I had a flight helmet and I had a flight suit, and I put in that crate, and we banded it and everything, good to go. Left them in a pile. So, but I have the motorcycle in a trunk that I carried with me on the airplane, that I put on the airplane.
So that was your carry-on.
That's my carry-on.
The
one
forks
of them,
and
one of them.
Yeah,
and the
well,
motor.
one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
besides your clothes and
Yes.
whatever they allowed you to load
Yeah.
with.
And that engine's heavy. I was a lot younger and stronger in those days.
Yeah, right.
Apparently, because
Yeah,
I just
you can't-
moved it.
You can't even throw it up on that
No,
thing right
pretty
now.
much.
So,
So I get to
so what year was it
That
when
was
they gave you the orders to evacuate?
79.
1979.
Yeah, they took the hostages. That was the year they took the hostages. About
Yeah.
2 months later after that. So I'm back in Arizona, going back to flight school, Southern Arizona Cochise College, working for my dad. And we come in from the ranch one day for lunch and get a phone call, and it's this place in Tucson says, "Yeah, we looking for Steve Huff. We've got a big box for him." No, I don't, you must have the wrong guy. They said, no. They said it's from Iran. Oh man,
It's your
that's my I mean, 6 months. That's my motorcycle. We hop in the truck that day as a 2-hour drive, almost 2-hour drive. We
To
drive
go to
there,
Phoenix and pick this motorcycle.
go to Tucson. Yeah, go to
Or
Tucson, pick it up, and we get up there and I open it up, and somebody had scratched out tools and all that. They wrote, "Ha, it's a motorcycle." And I opened it up, and there's the motorcycle. Now they took my helmet, they took the manuals for
So
the
obviously
Cobra.
they were going through these boxes.
Yes.
All the way back.
All the way back. But I got it and brought it home and put it together. And my brother and I rode it for years, off and on. I think I sold it to him once, and he sold it back to me once, and
Yeah.
we rode it for years here.
Yeah. What a heck of a story. Well, I can't wait to see it back together, and I want to ride it. Like, when you get this thing together, I want to
It
ride
runs
it down
good.
the street.
It's crazy.
To
It runs.
know that you bought that motorcycle in Iran, and actually the way it came here and the times. I mean, I remember 1979 like it was yesterday. I was a kid, but yeah, it was like almost like a World War III scenario.
It
when
was.
they had them hostage. I don't know how long they had the hostages on the tarmac in the airplane, but
They had us.
crazy.
They kept us there for yelling, screaming at us for hours, and they let the first airplane go, a 747. These guys, it was Pan Am,
right.
but the pilots, they all had high and tight haircuts, and
Yeah.
Bill, they weren't Pan Am pilots, but
Yeah.
they had the uniforms on.
Yeah.
And finally, they were mad because one of our guys had married an Iranian woman, and they were telling her they were going to kill her family, and they were going to wipe them out, and if she left the country, and they were mad, and so they kept yelling and screaming. And finally, they put us on the airplane, and then they kept coming on to check our papers, and finally the guy come over there. And it was a 747, big airplane. There was only 100 of us on this 747, 100 left. And they kept coming on and saying papers, and finally he said, guy come on the overhead speaker and said, "My name is such and such, my number is such and such." He goes, "I'm taking responsibility." He goes, "Flight attendants, close the doors. No one else coming on this airplane." And they closed the doors and they circled the airplane with the guns, and you don't realize how fast a 747 taxis till you see people trying to run to keep up with it. And we were moving what I thought was fairly slow, taxiing out. And he called the tower, the tower was closed, but there was someone on the radio saying like, "Do not go. You cannot go. You
you're
cannot
not
go."
cleared for takeoff.
He just taxied out and left, and Iranian, I believe their F-4s at the time, came and intercepted us as we were leaving in the air, and they stayed with us for quite a while, and then pretty soon they just left. They were just gone, and then pretty soon our airplanes from the military base in Turkey came and got us and flew beside us, and they were all saluting us and stuff, and we climbed up and went on to Germany, Frankfurt, Germany.
So you went to Germany.
Yeah.
Let me know down in the comments what you think of Steve's crazy story. I mean, you can't make stuff like this up, but we'll show you what Steve just did last week, a little video, which was kind of cool. But I have a lot more stories with Steve coming up. And there's one that will break your heart. Like, it brings tears to my eyes to hear it. But we'll do story time again with Steve Huff. So these pictures, most of them would have been taken literally right after you got the bike.
Yes.
It's amazing you got these pictures.
Yeah.
It was so hard to take pictures.
So here's the sand dunes.
Wow.
And there's some dunes. There's a guy riding across.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy had a something he looked through. It wasn't a rangefinder back then. It was something he looked across and you'd ride around. He'd do something else, and he said it was about a mile across this one bowl. They were so big. The dunes were. So they would dig. These guys do hand dug wells. All their life, they dig these hand dug wells for the sheep across Iran.
Right.
They're called ganots. And these guys are ganot diggers. And they live their entire life digging these hand dug wells. And they hit water, they cover it up, and they go dig the next one. Well, then as the sheep herders come through, there's a structure, and they have a sheep
Where
skin
they can pull the water
that they sew
out.
the legs through, and they pull the water out. When that one goes dry, they take all the wood off this one, put it on this one, move everything to the next one. And we were going through the dunes. You can look across these dunes. Look how big that bowl is right there. We were going.
Oh yeah, look at that.
We're going across the dunes.
That's definitely not glamorous, is
No.
it? Woo.
We were going across the dunes, and we stopped. And the guy, we did one all day trip. It's 9 hours. The only thing we could bring is 2 cans of crushed pineapple. And so we would stop and eat a can of crushed pineapple once in a while. And we're going along, we just hear a guy singing in the middle of the dunes, middle of the desert. Nothing. You haven't seen anything in there. Look up, there's a guy walking.
You're on a motorcycle.
Yes, and he's walking through the dunes, and he has nothing on him except totally covered up. And then you ride more, and you come up on a clear plastic, about this tall, round, about 40 feet long, clear plastic, and that's where they live. And they move this clear plastic. When they get so far away from it, now they move it closer to where they're at. And they live in that their whole entire life out there digging these wells.
Wow. Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Says
huh?
I'm just friendly like everybody.
Oh my gosh.
His name's Arrow Commander.
Aero Commander. Aero Commander. All Steve Huff's dogs have names after airplanes and flying thing. What's the other dog? Ace. Ace. Flying Ace.
Flying Ace, and then Jet for Jefferson Sanderson. Charts.
Love it. Steve is not aviation, just saying. I have him in my phone as Lear Aviator because he's the only person I've ever met that's checked out in a Lear, which takes 2 pilots, right?
Yes.
Kids, don't try this at home. Dude, it started. That's half the battle. Well, it runs, and it runs pretty good. We got to get air filter back on it. We're going to get the number plates on it. We'll give this thing back to Brian. Thanks for watching.